playing music, for me at least, is very much an expression. I was always just drawn to sports because of the physicality of it. I was always drawn to music because of the expression of it. There's a raw emotion in both sport and music that I love. I love that you can express yourself in a way that you really can't just in normal life. Just walking around, it would be really weird for somebody to get really emotional and like jump around and tear their shirt off and do this like Brandy Chastain. Or, you know, it'd be really weird for me to just like, yeah, I know, you know, and then you can do that when you're drumming. You can say things like, yeah, and nobody hears you. That's gonna be the only thing that appears in this interview, by the way. Just that, on repeat, cha. I listen to a lot of Depeche Mode and Led Zeppelin. I think those are the two major staples that kind of formed my preferences and tastes. And I think it was good so, because Depeche Mode is kind of poppy and melodic and does a lot of harmonies, and then Led Zeppelin is like the more rock, intricate music and things like that. So I got those both from the time I was probably 5 or so. They were like my favorite bands. 7 was when I got my first Led Zeppelin tape, you know. And I remember those things were the first pieces that made me feel something. I used to rewind the bridge to Kashmir, Led Zeppelin, just to like hear the change when it came in, because it gave me the goosebumps. So those are like some of my earliest memories of inspiration for like feeling something with music and then wanting to make other people feel that same way, or wanting to recreate that type of feeling. For me, there really was no moment that I realized I wanted to be a musician. It was kind of something that I've always done since I can remember. Some of my earliest memories are singing along with the radio, or singing with my family, or we had this Radio Shack tape recorder. We had the little microphone that plugged in, and I would make radio shows, and I was the host and the person being interviewed and the music and the commercial breaks. So I was like everything on that tape. It would go from like one seamlessly to another, and then I told stories on the tape, because that's a part of a radio show that everybody wants to hear. So I really don't think it was one of those conscious decisions that I made. Maybe the conscious decisions came later in life, when I had to choose between things. I had to figure out if I wanted to play sports in college, or if I wanted to pursue music. So I think that's when the decision happened. But as far as wanting to play music, I always wanted to. I've loved it ever since I can remember thinking. I played the drums because of the physical nature, but I never wanted to play them as a living. I always wanted to be the singer in a band. So I played guitar and sang in a band for years and years, and that's what I wanted to do. And then as a favor to a friend, I ended up playing the drums just like for fun, and it was cool, and so we started this band, and so I was on the drums because that's what it was, and that was fun. And then that's how I met the guys in Neon Trees, and so I kind of just got stuck behind the drums as a favor to a friend, which is a great happenstance, but I definitely didn't seek out to be the drummer in a band. There's a difference between a hobby musician and a musician that works for a living, and the musician who like needs to play and needs to perform. Because I frankly don't really like practicing. It's not that fun. It's necessary, it's a necessary evil, but I do it so that I can perform in front of people, because there's this certain communication that happens between performer and onlooker that you can't really replicate in any other way. And so when I practice by myself, it's pretty boring. You know, a minute seems like an hour, and it's very tedious. But when I play in front of an audience, or no matter how small or big, there's a different energy there. There's an exchange that happens that doesn't happen when you're alone. And I think that is what's special about performing music, about their compulsion happens because I need to like get in front of people and express this thing, whether that be behind the drums or playing the guitar or singing or whatever. To me, it's all the same. Frankly, it doesn't need to be the drums. I just like what happens when I get to perform something for someone. I would almost argue that it's the most basic self you can be is performing. This is like as raw as you can get, because you're not trying to put on a face for anybody. Well, at least you're hopefully not trying to put on a face for somebody. Some performers do, but if you're really playing music to play music and to have that exchange, I think it's the rawest you can be, and it's kind of the most yourself you are, because I don't really think about what I'm going to say or how I might look. It's just, I'm playing the music, and I probably half the time look really silly and ridiculous, but I don't care, because I get to play the music, and that's just what feels right at the moment. Neon Trees specifically, the four of us all have that same kind of drive and willingness to put out everything, even when you're not getting so much in return. And we had probably the worst year of our collective lives in 2007, 2008 when we got together, and we all actually ended up moving to California for a while and living in Chris's parents' old house, and we were at each other's throats, and we were practicing like 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. It was gross and gnarly, and we were taking any show. 5 people showing up was like a success, but 3 of them bought shirts. Anyway, so like that kind of stuff, but it's funny to look at how that happened with Neon Trees and how we handled it, because we all were on the same page. Whereas other bands that we had been in before had always kind of just crumbled or not gotten that far or sacrificed that much, because not all members were willing to do it. And so that was what I think made Neon Trees special, was the fact that we all went through that refiner's fire together at the same time and never once thought, well, this isn't going to work, or oh, this isn't worth it. We never even talked like that. We talked like, okay, well, when this, then this. Looking back, it's kind of amazing, but also really stupid. But I think that's what's great, is that drive that blinds your finer senses of disappointment and, you know, the present situation, because you know that something better can and will come if you just hold out and do what you're doing and get better and work at it. And we all believe that.